But this guy does three bet a fairly like around 10% in position versus early position. So he has a pretty wide range here. We get a good flop. He bets, we call 10. He bets really small, which is weird. I think he's trying to say, I have two aces and I'm just trying to string you along to get called by whatever, but I don't think if he bets $18, I'm still not folding a pair, so I don't really think it makes sense, but whatever. And then the river he jams and we call. It's faster than, like, as fast as this mouse would click, that's how fast I call.
I think he's betting small to make the river be real scary. If he's pricing you in, he'd price you in on the turn a little bit bigger to make the river not as big of a jam to get you to call these.
And the other thought, the actual thought process at the time, I thought he's betting really small now so he can bluff the river, but also giving himself a really good price to hit his overcard out. Mm-hmm. But if he checks and then bets, he's never going to get folds. But when he does the little bet, he thinks, added to the fact of what you just said, he can now bet really big. But yeah, I snapped it. And then he shows ace king, which is probably not the best hand to bluff with, but we won't talk about that. So now I open in the cutoff and the small blind three bets me. Now, in theory, this guy should have a lot weaker range than the guy earlier because of the positions, right? He bets, I call, and then he bets. Obviously, I don't really care about the 10. And then on the river, he bets, and I fold. And what made me think was, I thought, what made me think about it later was like, why do I snap call against a guy three betting and under the gun raiser, but fold the small cutoff versus small blind? So when in the first hand, I'll bring it back up, the guy, in general, what do people do with 10s, jacks and 9s versus under the gun?
Call.
Yep. And what do they do out of the small blind versus the cutoff?
Rebet it.
Yeah. So the cutoff actually has twice, the small blind actually has twice as many overpairs than this guy, because this guy's probably might even flat queens here. So
that's very clever, Luke.
So in theory, this guy supposedly has such a stronger range, but in reality, he has less than half the amount of value. So I think having pocket 2s here is the same as having pocket 10s, maybe 9s, because I don't think he might not even jam 10s on the river here. Whereas in the small blind, he's always going to jam 10s. And he's always going to 3-bet those in the first place, whereas this guy won't.
What do you think if he changes his sizing to like 20, 21 on the turn?
I think it's still the point or the concept that I'm trying to talk about is not to do with his sizing, but to do with the fact that he's only repping aces and kings and pocket queens when he goes bet, bet, bet. Whereas this guy can rep aces, kings, queens, jacks, 10s, maybe ace 10 shoves. Like, I guess if we put a 10 out here, but if you put a 10 out here, the guy's never shoving a 10 on the river. Whereas this guy might.
And from the small blind, we're calling wider too.
Yeah.
Like we're calling pre-flop wider. We're calling the flop wider. We have a lot of like pocket 4s, ace 5s. Just like such a wider range to get value from with all of those aces through jacks and even, like you said, ace 10.
Yeah, so
that's smart. I give you props. That's very, very smart. I've never thought about that.
And no one's ever, I reckon I'm a pioneer. because this guy's he thinks he can make me fold pocket eights, whereas the guy in the small blind, he doesn't think he can make me fold pocket eights, so he's not going to actually be jamming as light in this spot because he expects me. This guy doesn't ever expect me to fold a 10 or 2 9s, whereas this other guy does. So
Well, I think they think about it from like a GTO standpoint of like, you know, he's shoving ace king because then he can shove aces, kings, queens for balance. But the thing is, if, you know, and I don't know, like maybe they 3-bet like some suited aces in that spot. Maybe they 3-bet like, I think some guys over 3-bet maybe like ace, jack, ace, queen versus the under the gun where he had the ace, king suited. So like if his range is as wide as like ace, queen, and ace, jack, then if he goes bet, 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 he's severely unbalanced.
yeah,
He's way over betting.
he
So
has,
we can overcall.
he has 18 combos of aces, kings, and queens, and if he's 3-bets 10%, he has 100 combos of hands, approximately. So,
And he's not going to show up with tons of value on that board. Eights is actually crushing him.
I think 8s is no different to 10s because, like I said, he doesn't even 3-bet jacks all the time, and he might
No,
get
you're right.
scared with jacks on the river in that spot anyway because I am going to have queens, kings, and aces sometimes.
Relative strength, I think they're all the same hand.
So that's
He's
why
repping, you know, pretty polarized.
very polarized. Whereas I think this guy can have a wider value range, and this guy also expects me to fold less. So I fold 9s here versus small blind, but call in when I'm under the gun with 8s.